The story begins during a full moon night when there are a lot of weapons rising above and several armed men were holding onto it. They surrounded a young man with the intention of executing him. This man has white hair and is wearing a black cape. He faced these armed men without any fear or hesitation. In just one slash, most of his adversaries were assassinated and a purple shadow appeared because of his powerful weapon. He already suffered small bruises on his cheeks but was still very determined to get the victory. When he landed his hand on the ground, a powerful force was cast causing the ground to collapse and the armed men were alarmed by it. But then, it was too late for them to resist as they were all destroyed and flew away. The man finally defeated them and he still paused on the ground, kneeling and catching up his breath. He grips into his sword and he suddenly hears a voice beside him. He then stands and faces the person that suddenly came. It was a lady with red hair and holding a long sword with a red cape. "Why have you made a deal with the devil? Why did you betray us, Nox von Reinharber?" the lady asked. This person she called Nox von Reinharber has 3 sharp things above his head. It was like an eye shape that had a red pupil in the middle. He looked up above and instantly smirked. "I did not betray you. It was you guys who betrayed me," the man answered. He then stared at the lady and his eyes were like he was in pain. A silhouette then emerged and a window appeared informing him that he already cleared the first part of the inner lunatic with a total of 27 clear counts. All of it is just an RPG game that was played by our story protagonist named Yoo Chan. At the moment, he was facing his PC while enjoying his cigarettes. By clearing the first part of the inner lunatic, he got a bunch of items and managed to clear the hidden quest. Because of this, he feels satisfied, except for the fact that he will be going to die next month. 2 years ago, Yoo Chan had an appointment with his personal doctor and on this day, his doctor calmed him first before telling him his real condition. Yoo Chan at this point was clueless and felt frightened thinking that his condition might get worse. Yoo Chan has already been to 2 hospitals and according to his present doctor, the result they got is still the same as his old examination. The only thing that the doctor gave him is a pain reliever for him to take when he cannot hold it anymore. Going back to the present day, the pain reliever suddenly fell on the floor upon realizing that 2 years have passed since he was informed about his condition, and that his doctor already gave him a timeline on that day. While he took a glance at the calendar, he suddenly coughed so he covered his mouth with his hands. Upon seeing that his hand had blood coming from his mouth, he feels down thinking that he was really gonna die soon. He was losing hope and just accepted that there was no chance for the result to be changed. His phone rang and it was a message coming from the 20 hospital university where he was admitted. He always received messages from them to remind him of his appointment. He had no one to talk to and no one ever reached out to him after his memory loss. There's no one for him to reach out to either, and he can't even go out anywhere in his current state. When he was about to put down his phone, he saw some flyers on his desk. And because of his disappointment, he crumpled it and threw it away out of annoyance. Sweat drops from his forehead and when there is a light appearing coming from his PC, he then lifts up his head to check for it. The game inner lunatic is asking if he wants to start a new game. And since he doesn't have anything to do in this world, he decided to accept it and immediately put Carl as his username. At this point, he was thinking about what character he can make. He was picking a trait that is both mana sensitivity genius and swordsmanship and combat genius. At this point, the system shows him his negative trait which is terminally ill. He was dumbfounded upon seeing it and he then laughed knowing that he's terminally ill in real life and so is his character. "Will you start the game with the chosen character?" the system asked. And when he clicks yes, he becomes shocked because the PC is sipping him which he cannot resist. He thought that it would be the end of his life. The system then notified that his character creation was successful. He thought death was something he was used to, but he at least wanted to die the way he pleased. When his body is already in the game, the character name he chooses has been forcibly changed. The synchronization is processing but it suddenly stopped at 71%. The character settings were completed and our main character was lying on the bed while panting. He then got up and was full of confusion. He got off the bed and was observing around. He realized that the place is familiar to him. When he was enveloped with the feeling of déjà vu, he realized that he had become the worst character. His current hair is white with purple eyes and he has a thin-built body. He was thinking that his appearance in the game is the same as the appearance of his old game character named Nox von Reinharber. In this game, Nox von Reinharber is the Inner Lunatic's third dark renowned family. Inner Lunatic is deeply related to the world's worst criminal organization, Lunatic. Nox is the Reinharber family's youngest of 5 siblings. The Reinharber family has birthed talented children who excelled in magic and swordsmanship throughout the ages, but Nox was the family's only non-talented child. Nox came to resent the world because of his lack of talent, and ended up signing a contract with the devil, which was banned, and thereby became the worst ever villain in the inner Lunatic story. Nox is holding his face while looking at the mirror. He was so confused if it was just a dream or a reality. Behind him is the game window that appeared. In this game, he's currently 14 years old, a human species with darkness as his main element and no accomplishment. He got so excited after seeing the stat window that he has 2 stamina, 9 mana, 7 luck, 0 will, and 25 charms, and his negative trait is terminally ill. He was so disappointed after he realized that this was the character he customized earlier. He doesn't know why he did it, but thinking back on it made him realize that he wanted to make a character that was like him in real life. A terminally ill character who was dying and didn't have anyone to depend on. He chose it as he didn't know that he would become the character. While he was thinking, the window informed him that he had unread mail in the mailbox. He was clueless at this point, but still, he did check it. Hey, Yoo Chan. No, I guess I should call you Nox now. That's the message he received. Nox replied to the mail, asking the sender how he knew his real identity. Yoo Chan is the name left to him by his parents, who he doesn't even know their whereabouts. That's why he was bothered by the mail he received. The mailer said that Nox will not remember him. Nox was thinking that the sender might know about the past he cannot remember. Long time no see, the mail said, causing his mind to be more confused. As per the sender, Nox did well for the past 2 years, and he deserves to be here. The sender even welcomed him back, which made him think that the last 2 years where he lived weren't reality, but rather that this place is. He squeezes his fist and believes that his thoughts are just full of nonsense. The sender said that he cannot tell Nox about his real identity. But then, he was just hoping to help Nox start a new life in this world. He advises Nox to enter a Lydian academy. He should grow his power and stay as close as he can to the main story. The whole truth will be lying there in that place. Nox rattled with what was going on, so he calmed himself for him to think better. His current self has transmigrated into the final boss of the game, Inner Lunatic. But, for him, staying as close to the main story is no different from just telling him to die. At the same time, he was thinking that if an Inner Lunatic is in fact a reality, then it's better for him not to give up on recovering his memory. He has to stay close to the main story in any way possible. And after he will recover his lost memories and find the point of contact within this game, he believes that he will survive. He's willing to become the biggest villain if that's what it takes to make that happen. It's just a small difference compared to reality. 2 years ago, when he lost his memory, he was a terminally ill patient to begin with. There was a countdown ticking down toward his death every second. And he spent his time in fear, wondering when he would die. The only thing that has changed is the backdrop, but it changed to a world he was quite familiar with. It's February 4th, 812 on this current date. Additionally, he was looking into the bright side that his death changed too. He smiled widely and was ready to begin his 28th attempt at clearing the Inner Lunatic. When he was about to open the door, his wrist suddenly felt pain. He looked clueless, and the system informed him that his negative characteristics were currently in effect. He gained sprained wrist level 1 due to the effect of a minor ailment. He should get plenty of rest for him to recover as per the system. Nox continued walking outside his room and suddenly bumped into a lady servant. The lady was carrying a plate and it ended up broken into pieces. The lady falls to the ground with a one-eyed close. This lady had brown hair with golden brown eyes. She started to panic when she realized that she bumped into the young master of the Reinharber family, which is Nox. Nox is holding his wrist because of the pain he feels. He then realized that the servant who hit him is a lady named Rona. Rona is kneeling and keeps on apologizing. As Nox only remembered, Rona is always talking behind his back. She was talking behind Nox's back with her innocent face. I'll let you off the hook this once. However, if you make such a mistake again, you know what will happen, Nox stated. Rona then smiled and answered yes to acknowledge what the young master said. While he was observing the place, Nox feels like it's gotten quiet around. All the servants look like they're frightened. He then remembered that he was Nox, the Reinharber family's trash. Before leaving the place, Rona asked about where he was going in the early morning. Nox then told her that he will be heading to the training hall, which made all the servants surprised. That's right, Rona, you follow me, Nox added, causing Rona to be scared. Rona doesn't have a choice but to follow his order. She was staring at Nox while they were heading to the training hall. Nox at this point was thinking of surviving. After standing on death's door, he is even more certain that he still doesn't want to die yet. First, in order to survive, he believes that he has to quickly adjust to the circumstances he has found himself in. Still, that doesn't mean there is no chance, Nox whispered, but Rona overheard him and was clueless about who he was talking with. As a pro player who had finished this game 27 times, Nox not only knew all of the game's hidden secrets. Inner Lunatic is the demonic and the divine. Further, it's a game where conflict with the Empire is the main focus, and has numerous fandoms around the world. What's special about Inner Lunatics is that they have various paths of growth with countless combinations of characteristics. Although there are many low-rank characteristics, rare and common ones, that can be chosen. There are also genius characteristics, only one of which can be applied in practice. Genius characteristics make it easy to reach the peak of the applicable field. However, Nox had picked 2. This is because there is something called a characteristic penalty in this game. There is a system that applies an increasingly bigger penalty the more characteristics are selected above the limit. That's why Nox was able to choose 2 genius characteristics. First is the sword and martial arts genius. It's proficient in the use of swords and other cold weapons. It also helps reach the peak of basic martial arts. And secondly is the mana sensing genius. It increases sensitivity to magic and helps achieve maximum efficiency when circulating mana. There are a lot of even more useful things too. An example is the Eye of Discernment, which allows the player to view the status window of other characters through the protagonist's benefit. There's also a Master of Acting. As its name implies, it literally corrects their acting skills. Steel Mentality will also keep Nox trembling in combat or dangerous situations. The problem lies in the negative characteristics. Although terminally ill is the most concerning, Nox feels like he was a walking hospital ward. In the case of cold hands and feet, it's almost impossible to even set foot in glacial zones without an ignition skill. And so long as he is frequently sick, in a chapter in the game, he will faint. Nox suddenly laughed while thinking about it, and Rona is still looking at him with confusion. When they arrived outside the training hall, Nox was just standing and Rona was observing him, waiting to see if he would go inside. When Nox finally opened the gate, he received a curse of languishment. A strong congenital curse of languishment is placed on the player's body. The growth rate is halved, and the player is twice as vulnerable to enemies' debuffs. Nox is planning to begin by getting rid of this curse. Nox started carrying the wooden sword and lifted it up. His sweat was dripping when he tried to swing it, and he realized that he really is trash. The sword was thrown up and he fell to the ground. In this world, Nox cannot swing the sword even 10 times. He was annoyed to think that the curse of languishment was a curse this debilitating. As he expected, there are a lot of well-maintained weapons here. That is because the foundation of the Reinharber family lies within the sword. What distinguishes the Reinharber family and propelled them to fame among various powerful noble families is their proficiency in the sword and the darkness attribute. The reason why they earn this fame is because of the sword art that infuses their swords with the power of darkness and allows them to easily slice their enemies, and because of their leader's sword. The weapon called the Dark Sword of Force was given only to those who were to become the family head. They have more going for them than just their sword art, so Nox believes that being a part of this family has a lot of disadvantages. One example is their wealth or money. Nox smiled upon realizing it. For him, money is the best of all. The Reinharber family is the best family in this world. Obviously, they have so much money that it rots. In fact, they can give large amounts of money to their so-called trashy youngest son. Nox's father, Theo, probably wouldn't care if Nox spent money however he wanted. Nox is the character who's been handed everything in the first place. A reputable family's youngest son. Nox stands while holding his knees. His whole body is shaking and he thinks that he won't be able to run before the thing he asked Rona to prepare is complete. A few minutes earlier, Nox orders Rona to prepare a wooden sword, a towel, and water. After Rona handed him all he needed, he asked Rona to move closer to him. Rona was scared as she thought that Nox would hit her. But then, Nox was annoyed about what she was thinking. He then pulled Rona's ear and whispered to her to get some money. Rona was shocked with the amount he needed, and she even told Nox that she will pretend she didn't hear anything. "Don't say anything and just get it for me," Nox stated. Rona couldn't do anything but follow what her youngest master demanded. Rona then runs as fast as she can while thinking that Nox hasn't changed at all, even a bit. Nox doesn't have any idea about how good Rona is at running errands. But if Rona does things quickly, Nox believes that this maid can bring them by tomorrow. Nox put some tea in his glass while he was thinking of a good way to solve the problem of his curse and low vitality. When he was about to drink his tea, someone greeted him from behind, which made him startled. It was the head butler, Rotwell de Hernerock. He's the Reinharber family's true authority and someone Nox, the trashy youngest son, can't mess with. He's the butler and the right-hand man of the family's head and Nox's father, Theo von Reinharber. That is who Rotwell is. Nox was annoyed that someone difficult to deal with appeared so quickly. Under normal circumstances, Rotwell wouldn't care about the trashy youngest son, so Nox was confused why this man suddenly came to him. But then, he was confident as he had a self-defense weapon. He then activated his positive characteristic, which is the master of acting. What's the family's head butler doing in a place like this? Nox confidently asked. According to Rotwell, he has been tasked by the family head to bring Nox the news. The family's head insists that Nox should participate in tonight's dinner. Nox chuckled at the idea that his father Theo wanted to eat dinner with him. He answered Rotwell to tell the family head that he wouldn't be attending tonight's dinner. He was so confused about why the family head suddenly asked for the youngest son's presence. As per Rotwell, the young miss from the Steelener family has visited. She came to receive night lessons, and if Nox will not participate, he believes that the family head will be very angry. Nox breathed deeply and confirmed that he would be attending as the family head wanted. Rotwell is observing Nox and he suddenly said that Nox is a bit weird today. You normally didn't like to swing a sword, but you're walking around the drill today. Can I ask why? Rotwell stated. The only thing I'll tell you is, how dare a mere butler like you pry into this master's business? No matter what I do, or why I do things, that's none of your business. I decide what I do. Nox answered. Rotwell didn't reply to him after what he said and just gave an apology to Nox. Nox then leaves him and Rotwell was wondering if Nox had caught something. And he decided to report it to the family head. After Nox came out from the training hall, he was so nervous that Rotwell suddenly came out of nowhere. He didn't expect that a family dinner event would pop up. He keeps checking behind to make sure that Rotwell doesn't follow him, as he was afraid that they will find out that he transmigrated. He then remembered what Rotwell mentioned about the Steelener family's young miss. He was also clueless why the lady is appearing out of the blue. When the night came, the dinner event was happening and Nox really came to participate. As expected, all he heard are some disrespectful words from his twin brothers, Hatch and Alan. They even called Nox a shameless child for attending the family dinner. They laughed as they recalled that Nox beat up a maid and a butler. Nox was just listening to them. He feels so wrong even though he is not the one who's those things. After a while, the family head arrived. Theo von Reinharber together with the Steelener family's young miss, Thalia von Steelener. Pleased to meet you, Thalia greeted. She looks fabulous in the red dress she was wearing, which is also partnered with the color of her hair and eyes. Theo informed his family that the young miss of the Steelener family has come to their house to briefly take night lessons. Everyone, welcome her warmly, Theo said. Thalia von Steelener is the inner lunatic side character. The character condemns the antagonist, Nox. This means she's a person who'll stab Nox in the chest in the future. At tonight's dinner, Theo saw that his son Nox really participated in their family dinner. He acknowledged Nox's presence, but Nox ignored him, which made Thalia wonder. They then started the meal and the twin brother was still gossiping about something. Alan opened a conversation with his father and told him that it was about time for him to make a decision about who will be admitted to Elydian Academy and become the family's new talent. Nox heard it and he became interested in listening to the topic. Theo held into his chin and agreed about what Alan stated. Elydian Academy is the most important place in the Inner Lunatic. Because of Inner Lunatics, it depicts a story of cadets fighting demons through various unexpected situations in the academy. Nox was still in silent mode, but in his mind, he wanted to be admitted to Elydian Academy. As long as it doesn't affect the story of the game, he needs to gather his own comrades. According to Theo, only 3 tickets are allotted to each family for Elydian Academy admission. The reason for that is to guard the academy against the power of nobles. Theo already used 2 tickets for his first and second sons, so the Reinharber family has 1 ticket left. Nox smiled while thinking that before he will look for his comrades, somehow getting his hands on that admission ticket will be the best for him. I shall choose who will go according to our family's tradition, Theo declared. So you're trying to tell us that you will pick one person by letting us brothers fight each other? Nox answered. Theo at this point didn't expect that the one who would speak up first will be his trashy son, Nox. He confirmed what Nox said and he added that the date will be set in a month. He will decide on how will be admitted after he sees his son spar at the training grounds. The twin brothers, Hash and Alan, underestimate Nox. They even believe that it's better for Nox to give up since Nox is too weak that he cannot even hold a sword before, which might be a reason now for his defeat. That's something you would normally say after winning, isn't it? Nox said and drank a glass of wine. Hash was mad at the fact that their youngest brother is so calm and confident in beating them. Nox will use this duel as his gateway for admission, and he doesn't intend to listen to his brother's ridiculous notions. I will be the one who will be admitted to Elydian Academy, Nox confidently declared in front of everyone. His father was surprised at how confident he is, while his twin brothers were annoyed at him. Our youngest seems to be very confident, doesn't he? Thalia interfered. Nox was looking at her with a calm face, but he was really irritated by this lady. He feels like he has gained the attention of someone who he shouldn't have. After their family dinner, Rotwell reported to Theo about Nox, who had suddenly changed his behavior. Theo wouldn't have believed it if he hadn't seen it himself. He believes that Nox somehow had a change of heart. He even thinks that Nox might be possessed by a demon because of his sudden changes. Since he was so intrigued by it, he ordered Rotwell to continue keeping his eyes on Nox. The next day early in the morning, Nox comes out to the training ground, which made all the servants surprised since Nox is not this kind of a person. Nox is peacefully running around, but then he overheard these maids gossiping about him. And since he was very determined to become strong, he chose to ignore them. He continues running and his stamina level has increased by 0.1. He was so disappointed that he only gained a small addition of his stamina. He was running around because his biggest problem is his physical strength. The activation condition for sword and martial arts genius is to achieve a 4 in physical strength. Unless one's stamina is at its lowest like Nox, they would have started with everything already open. But he's under the curse of languishment. He stops running while catching up his breath. He motivates himself by improving his stamina by 1.9 in a month. Curse of languishment is the curse that reduces physical growth by half. Nox almost exhausted himself to death running just now, but it ended up only increasing by 0.1. His terminally ill characteristics are also cutting down the pace of physical growth by half. As a result, he has to work 4 times harder than the others. No matter how hard he tries, since he has the terminally ill characteristic, he can only get up to 15 stamina. While he was thinking, Rona suddenly came and brought the items Nox asked for yesterday. Nox then smiled that Rona is more useful than he thought. He was planning to get 4 stamina by using the 3-headed serpent's poison, Golem's core, Fairy's spring water, and rapid physical growth scroll. He won't have any problems as he saw himself as a pro player at using old-fashioned shortcuts. Rona asked him why he needed all these items. It made her confused because these items were so expensive, and most of all, these are all either poisonous, tricky to use, or medications that people would usually avoid. But then, Nox told her that people only avoided it because they didn't know how to use it. Rona then asked him how to use it, and Nox grabbed the 3-headed serpent's poison and drank it without hesitations. Since it was a poison, Rona was shocked and afraid to think that her young master poisoned himself. Nox was aware that this thing is really a poison. His sweat dropped from his forehead and his stamina temporarily increased by 1.5. It will take 10 minutes. He then grabs the golem's core and bites it. Rona was even more scared for him. Because of the golem's core, Nox will slowly fall into a state of petrification. The hidden piece has been revealed. The 3-headed serpent's poison is reacting to the golem's core. Nox was glad that the hidden piece was working. He just needs to keep this going. Originally, the golem's core can temporarily petrify humans to amplify their defenses. It's an item that is used to make other artificial golems. But if it's used with the 3-headed serpent poison, a special effect will be activated. The 3-headed serpent poison will be diluted and the negative characteristic curse of languishment has disappeared. Rona was shocked upon hearing Nox's explanation. There are more hidden pieces to uncover. Nox removes the upper button of his shirt, causing Rona to be thrilled as she was thinking of something else. But then, Nox grabbed the fairy's spring water and poured it on his face. The fairy's spring water is reacting to the golem's core. The effect of the golem's core disappeared. Nox finds its feeling as interesting. Because of it, a hidden piece has been uncovered. Nox is temporarily given the Blessed Growth characteristic just as he planned. Blessed Growth will double the user's stat growth rate until stamina reaches 5. One more left is the Rapid Physical Growth Scroll. Nox scratches it and his stamina growth rate increases by 100%. He has gotten rid of the curse, and with Blessed Growth, he offset the 50% physical growth penalty of the terminally ill, and he even used the scroll. As a result, he'll be progressing twice as fast as before. He was ready to improve his stamina, but Rona suddenly jumped into him. "Young master, are you all right?" Rona asked. When Nox took off his clothes after taking the poison, she thought something was wrong with Nox's head. Nox was annoyed at her, but since he was in a good mood after he lifted his curse, he decided to let it slide. "Of course I'm fine," Nox answered. But still, Rona is worried for him and even offered that she will call the butler. Nox smiled at her and assured her that he was 100% fine. Rona then asked what he wanted to do and he answered that he would run. Meanwhile, Nox is running again and he's together with his maid Rona, carrying a towel. While they both were running, someone was watching them. It was Thalia who called Nox a punk for agreeing to contest against his brothers. Thalia's maid named Emma told her not to belittle the youngest son of the Reinharber family. Despite what she said, Thalia still wanted to stand as to what she said. She underestimated Nox because Nox is not even holding a sword and only running around ignorantly. Even the soldiers of the Reinharber offered to teach him swordsmanship, but he rejected them all. That's why Thalia believes that Nox will be beaten up in a month. She was annoyed, but deep inside, she cannot help herself but be concerned about Nox. She opened the gate and Emma tried to stop her, but then she insisted and told her maid that she will be away for a bit. She goes directly to Nox. Nox took a little bit of rest while Rona was already exhausted. "Hey, my name is Thalia," Thalia said. Nox glanced at her emotionless, but in his mind, he was confused why Thalia approached him. "What brings you here? I think I've heard your name before," Nox answered. Thalia feels how cold Nox's attitude is, but then she was thinking that Nox might be shocked to see her beautiful face. She was pretty sure that it is the main reason. Are you training right now because you think you can really win against your brothers? Just by running around like that? Do you really think that's possible? I can help you a bit," Thalia confidently said. Despite her kindness, Nox rejected her offer and told her to leave. Thalia was annoyed at this point. She cannot believe that Nox was impolite when she came just to offer her help. Rona is just observing them. She was thrilled while looking at both her young master and Thalia. Thalia really feels insulted that Nox has the guts to reject her kindness. She decided to leave and let Nox do whatever he wants. Nox was confused why Thalia's temper changed too fast. He stared at Thalia and decided to check Thalia's information and stats. The same as him, Thalia is also 14 years old with fire as her main attribute. Her stamina is currently 6, 3 mana, 5 luck, 7 will, and 20 charms. He also checked Thalia's characteristics. As per Nox, Thalia had some crazy talent by the looks of it. As an inner lunatic, considering that the average adult male's stamina is only 4, Thalia's stamina is quite impressive. Although she doesn't have as much potential as the 3 Swords Emperors or the 4 Sages of the continent, she has enough talent to reach the level just below them. Nox believes that Thalia is talented enough to eventually execute a demon or two. About her fire attribute, the magic power of the flame attribute used by Thalia will awaken as the white flame in the future and incinerate Nox, who will have become a demon to death. If Nox can make Thalia his ally now, a lot of future stories will get tangled up. Nox needs to stay close to the main story to avoid death. And, to begin with, it makes sense to get along with someone who's gonna execute him. 1 month later, Thalia is holding a sword. She remembered what her trainers told her. They were amazed that Thalia learned too quickly, and someone said that her talent befitting the steel in her family. She felt sad about it and she recalled the time that her sister defeated her in a sword play. She grips her sword and questions herself if she will have the capability to become a knight. From ancient times, a knight is an individual unmoved by greed, living frugally, with their sole purpose being to sacrifice themselves in the name of justice. In addition to that mindset, it is only possible to become a knight after learning numerous sword arts and techniques. Thalia also remembered that Nox is willing to defeat his brothers with just physical exercise. She's 100% sure that there's no chance for Nox to defeat his twin brothers. The next day, the battle for the admission ticket to Elydian Academy was about to begin. Every maid is here, and even Theo, Thalia, and Rotwell. The presence of Theo's first wife named Priscilla was also present. "Rotwell, what do you think about this duel?" Theo asked. He was about to answer, but the host called out the attention of the crowd. He declared that the competition over the right to be admitted into the Elydian Academy commenced now. Nox was so focused at this point. Alan confidently raised his sword and swung it going toward Nox. As per Rotwell, Alan will win this time since they already witnessed Alan's movement before. Even Theo agreed with him and believed that Alan would be the victor this time. Rotwell was wondering if the family head anticipates different results. Although they see that Nox has changed a lot, he still doesn't get the impression that Nox is gonna win. That is outrageous and impossible for him. He, too, once walked the path of a knight, fighting by the family head's side. The sword is something that is sometimes intricate, but at other times, the simplest thing in the world. How long they have been training, as well as how much they pondered over it, determines their level. There is only one thing that can turn everything upside down and cause a stronger person to eventually kneel before them. Otherworldly genius, as it implies, is an overwhelming talent. Rotwell questioned himself if Nox was born with that sort of talent. However, Theo believes that his son Nox is not like he has zero potential. You can never be sure with the blood of the Reinharber family running in his veins, if a young rascal might have been born with a potential as incredible as that of the three sword emperors. In the middle of the duel, Nox's characteristics of sword and martial arts genius became inactive. He wondered why the hell he didn't have any luck. Even though his luck was very high, to talk about the outcome first, he wasn't able to get his stamina to 4 in the end. Last day, Nox is still running and his stamina has reached 3.8. While he was running, Rona was also running behind him. It was Nox's order since Rona is his personal maid and she should be the one to assist Nox. After wiping his sweat, he handed the towel to Rona and told her that they should run more because he overheard Rona curse him. With Rona's much stamina, Nox becomes interested to know her stats. He then activates his Eye of Discernment and finds out that Rona had 4.5 stamina at the moment. He was surprised about it and to think that a maid is stronger than him as an average adult male. He was confused about what the Reinharber family did to her to make it happen. Rona, an extra, has higher initial stats than he does. Stats that he barely reached after a month of hard work. He finds it ridiculously unfair. They stopped running early on the last day since Rona reminded him that the competition will be the next day. He was so disappointed that he did not reach his goal of getting 4 stamina. Going back to the present day, Alan told him to just give up the competition. Even if you are the disgrace of our family, you're still my younger brother, I can't hit you too hard, can I? Alan stated. Judging from the look on his face, Nox concludes that Alan doesn't really want him to give up. Alan acts just to look good in front of the young lady of the steel in her family. While he was talking, Nox decided to check his stamina. He then finds out that Alan's stamina is at 8. He knows that there's no way for him to win through ordinary means. When the right of admittance into the Elydian Academy at stake, the sparring match will formally begin. Nox von Reinharber and Alan von Reinharber, the two must accept the result of the spar and never dispute them. The host declared. At this point, Nox feels nervous knowing that he will lose here. Everything is over. From regaining his memory to finding out who sent him the letter. And, albeit with a year of postponement, his life will really come to an end. The host then declared that the sparring will begin. Alan immediately swings his sword while Nox managed to dodge Alan's attack and block his kick. Nox's flew away because of it, and his brother Alan acknowledges that he blocked it well. He then continues to attack while Nox is just blocking his sword. The one truth of this game called Inner Lunatic is that Nox will have to let everything go if he will lose here. But if he can win here, then he feels like he will be able to get everything under his grasp. Alan grits his teeth and hits Nox many times. Priscilla was observing and she was needlessly worried after hearing that the youngest son of his husband had changed. She was confident that the last son who will enter the Elydian Academy from the Reinharber family will be her son. Alan was enjoying the match while Nox looked like he was struggling. Theo is looking forward to this match because he heard that Nox had changed. But in the end, he was disappointed that Nox only keeps on blocking Alan's attack. Rotwell asked him if he wanted to stop the match. According to him, if they let this fight go on, Nox will need a long time to recover. Alan and Hatch's aptitude is good, but not to the point that they're like an uncut gem compared to Garen, the eldest. Their skills are sorely lacking. The rule of the might of the black sword brings everything before his feet, and brings his opponents to their knees with his overwhelming armed might. Nox is panting as he is struggling against Alan. Theo was about to stand and agreed to stop the match. Nox's stamina is continuously increasing and his sword and martial arts genius characteristic has been activated. By this, Nox smiled and became confident to fight. Have you lost your mind and gone insane now, Nox? Alan asked. At this time, Nox's skill genius time stream has been invoked. There's like a golden watch engine surrounding Nox. He heard this saying somewhere, that geniuses and commoners leave life at different times. This is a genius time stream. Everything appears to be moving slowly, a skill that makes the time they perceive slow down manifold. The enemy appearing slow is completely different from him moving fast. Although it's hard to unitize this skill to its full potential, so long as the sword and martial arts genius characteristic is activated, it has been decided. With the help of the genius time stream, Nox managed to attack Alan and even made Alan's sword fall on the ground. Alan was dumbfounded that Nox instantly changed out of the blue. Nox becomes more confident and very determined to become the winner of this fight. Alan's sword was dropped and his wrist became in pain while Nox was still holding onto his sword and found this match fun. Even so, he must not let his guard down. The skill only lasts for 5 minutes. He has to end it somehow within that time. I've been going easy on you until now, but I can't any longer because I'm bored. Hyung Nims, let's finish this as quickly as possible. "Both of you, please come to me at once," Nox stated. The twin brothers were shocked upon hearing these words from their youngest weak brother, Nox. Nox asked permission from his father to allow him to fight both his brothers at the same time. At first, Theo became speechless and didn't give an answer instantly. Even Thalia and Rotwell were confused about what Nox was trying to do. Theo smiled a bit after realizing that Nox's spirit had changed. He believes that there's something good that Nox is trying to hide. For him, it'll be worth watching it a little more, so he allows the 2-on-1 spar. Priscilla tried to resist, but then Theo declared that the match would begin. Alan and Hatch grabbed their swords and they both were mad that Nox humiliated them in front of their father. In front of them is Nox confidently holding his sword. The twin brothers then also held tight to each sword and prepared themselves. They both then rushed to Nox while Nox is just standing and waiting for them. When both Alan and Hatch attacked, Nox managed to block both of their swords. Alan tried to order his brother Hatch, but it seems like Hatch is not listening to him. At this point, Nox is just calm blocking their sword, and to his surprise, the proficiency of the underground lower sword art has increased through the special effect of the Genius Time Stream, which helps Nox to clearly see his opponent's sword. He spars so calmly while the twin brothers were annoyed as they cannot defeat Nox. While the twin brothers spar, they accidentally hit each other. They both then stopped and looked at each other with annoyance. Thalia was surprised at Nox's changes. Even Alan and Hatch were clueless about how the disgrace of the family changed this much. Alan and Hatch are staring at each other, but then Nox interferes and tells them that they should not be distracted during a fight. Nox then continues the spar. There is an important matter at stake through this spar, but wielding the sword is something that is enjoyable for him. Everyone was shocked upon witnessing Nox's movement, especially since he managed to make the twin brothers fall to the ground. At this time, the duration of the Genius Time Stream is completely over. Priscilla stood and was worried for his two sons. "Look here, the victor's been decided, hasn't it?" Nox asked. "Of course." The host answered and declared that the victor is no other than Nox von Reinharber. Alan was so disappointed that he was defeated by his disgraceful youngest brother. He even dropped his sword out of annoyance. Theo is staring at Nox, and Nox only smiled a little as he was glad that he finally won and will be admitted at the Elydian Academy soonest. He bowed down and asked permission to take a leave. He then leaves the battleground and composes himself to stay normal and emotionless. Thalia is looking while he is leaving. She decided to follow Nox to answer his confusion. When Nox comes out, he finds out that there's blood on his hand, so he believes that he overdid it a bit with the skill's time. The Genius Time Stream skill has one grave drawback. If it is used past its time limit, then the player will be caught in a rebound, a debuff state. At this moment, Nox's lifespan has been reduced by 2 days and 17 hours due to the recoil of the Genius Time Stream skill. It permanently takes one's vitality and is the worst debuff that makes it easy for Nox to fall sick. He's already a terminally ill patient. It's a relief for him that the rebound didn't occur in front of others. If it was caught by even just another person, his admission to the academy would have been cancelled. While he was peacefully thinking alone, Thalia came and asked if he was hurt. "You got hurt during the spar earlier?" she asked once again, causing Nox to be annoyed that Thalia finds out. And it had to be Thalia of all the people. He was afraid that his father Theo would find out about the skill's rebound. "To think you want to fight between siblings with that broken body of yours, I think I've misunderstood you," Thalia said. What she saw in the past month was that Nox never once wielded a sword. On the first day, all she saw was him swinging a wooden sword clumsily. The fact that such a person is able to win, it's definitely because he's talented. After Nox won the match, Thalia becomes interested to know how Nox awakens such talent, and how he trained such talent. But when all the duels were over, how he looked when he was alone made Thalia wonder why he suddenly looked so weak. Nox isn't the good-for-nothing that the rumors say. He simply worked hard so that he could win no matter what. Nox coughed and Thalia was worried for him. She was about to hold Nox, but Nox blocked her hand. "Don't touch me," Nox said. Because he has been obsessed with gaming for the past 2 years, it's hard for him to get along well with others. In the first place, Thalia is the character that executed him. Thalia rattled and apologized to Nox. Nox was confused about why the lady suddenly asked for an apology. She didn't expect that Nox was that serious about the sword. And she also heard that Nox's body has been weak since birth. She realized now why Nox is only doing stamina training. "I'm sorry for misunderstanding you. Acting like a good-for-nothing is probably not what you intended as well. Emma said that people could make mistakes like that," Thalia stated. Nox at this point was clueless on how to respond to Thalia. Thalia is so honest, just like what he has seen in the game. Even though he knows she possesses the traits of a knight, she's the daughter of a proud, reputable duke family. Nox was thinking that it must be hard for this lady to admit to others that she was wrong. If that's what you think of me, then please don't tell others about me bleeding, Nox answered, and Thalia agreed to him without hesitations. Nox probably doesn't need to worry about others finding out about this matter. He told the lady to keep her promise and then he turned around to leave and go back to his room. Thalia was looking at him and it can really see in her eyes how worried she is. In Theo's private room, he and Rotwell were talking about Nox's talent. As per Rotwell, he couldn't understand at first why Nox allowed himself to just get beaten up. But for children around his age, and including all the young masters, he thinks that Nox is the best among them. Even Theo agreed to Rotwell without knowing the reason why. But then, he thinks Nox still has talents that were hidden from them. Monitor all of his movements and do nothing but observe, no matter what he does, Theo ordered. He was wondering if Nox has enough talent to inherit the supreme black sword. He squeezed his fist and said that he doesn't have much time left, and that Rotwell's task is much more important. I'll do my best, Rotwell answered and left. Nox has completed the tutorial quest and cleared the first fight. This is a world that became a reality, but the game-like system is still here. The window appeared again to inform him that he was given some rewards. He received 3 stat points, which is a jackpot for him. He ran for a whole month just to increase his stamina by 2. But the stat that he needs to invest in is not stamina but luck. His current luck is 10. The reason is that it's not a stat that can be increased with hard work, and also because, in an inner lunatic, luck is the most valuable stat. Benefit mass clear 27 times has been given. He obtained 1 random gacha voucher and 1 time use skill confirmation voucher. His benefit of clearing the game 27 times was still there too. He then went to the gacha right away. He was standing in front of it and seeing this in person feels so alien for Nox. He then drove the gacha. When luck stat is at its highest, Nox thinks that the chance of an intermediate rank and above appearing was 95%. The basic rank and below is white, the intermediate rank is silver, the advanced rank would be gold, and the highest rank would be rainbow. At this point, Nox was hoping to get gold and above. After a while, the gacha opened and a silhouette emerged. The paper then appeared and he was glad to see that it was gold as what he wished. He immediately opened and the system congratulated him for obtaining an advanced trait, the Supreme Ruler's Awe. He was so overjoyed with this achievement. The Supreme Ruler's Awe is advanced rank with no attribute. Those with lower stat value than the player with all stats will be reduced by 20%. Nox was thrilled to think that he got a debuff skill, but he still has another reward. The system asked if he wanted to use the one-time use skill confirmation voucher, but then, the skill that he'll be getting from this is already decided. One of the hidden pieces that can be obtained in the Reinharber family. In order to get that, he needs that skill. Theo will soon gather all the siblings in the estate. That's the time Nox will use it. It's been a while since the graduation from the Elydian Academy has finished. Green von Reinharber, the second son of the Reinharber family, is a member of this batch. In order to train to be a knight, he should be in the midst of traveling around. Nox was planning to find the hidden piece and handle Green, so he believes that there's no time for him to rest at all. The only fortunate thing is, he probably doesn't need to worry about Thalia anymore. That's what he was thinking. Thalia is not the type of character to break her promise. There's no reason for her to approach Nox either. The next morning, Nox comes out of his room and instantly sees Thalia outside. Didn't we settle everything yesterday already? What do you want from me? Nox asked. Thalia was about to answer but something was stopping her. Nox is forcing him to answer. How did you become so strong so quickly? Tell me how I can become stronger, Thalia said. Nox doesn't give her an answer as he knows that Thalia secretly watched him train for a month. Thalia feels embarrassed that Nox knows that she was observing him. Nox then walks away and Thalia is chasing him and is begging for Nox to tell her how trained himself. From what Nox remembered, Thalia was a character who wanted to be recognized by her sister. You know, before asking me something like that, or considering how you should train, you should think of the talent you have first, Nox casually answered. Thalia was speechless upon hearing Nox's answer. Nox also advises her that she should not compare herself to others. He then leaves while Thalia becomes emotional. While Nox is outside the palace, he keeps looking behind him to make sure that Thalia is not following him. There's no need for him to let Thalia see him earn the hidden piece as he believes that Thalia will be the one to execute him. Nox directly goes to the area where his father Theo is waiting. They are in the Reinharber family's barn where there are a lot of the best horses that were raised on this continent. Rotwell also came with the twin brothers, Alan and Hatch. Theo then declared that they will now choose a horse they will be with forever. Nox then smiled that his prediction is right. Horses are animals considered to be the holiest in both the continent and in the Reinharber family. If they have decided to become a mage or a knight, they will choose a horse when they are young to have as a lifelong companion. A Lydian Academy teaches horse riding, and the latter part of the game has a lot of big wars. They have to raise a young horse again in case the one they had will die. Plus, transportation magic is very expensive. Horses are a very important mode of transportation. Therefore, Nox needs to choose the best horse. Theo lets Nox choose first as a reward for winning the duel. He will only give one chance. Once Nox can choose, he cannot be able to request a change. While he was heading to the horses, his father Theo was wondering which one his youngest son would choose. The stable lad greeted Nox upon entering. Nox then checked the horses and he was amazed that all of these horses were so cute. But the one he was looking for is something rare. He then found a dark horse and this horse is what he wanted. He then goes near it and declares that he wanted this dark horse. The twin brothers were annoyed looking at him and his father Theo was alarmed at what Nox chose. He suddenly gives a second chance to Nox to change a horse. For Nox, another chance shows how bad of a decision they think he was making. But then, when Nox checks this horse's stats, its rank is high. Most summoned creatures are divided into ranks and depending on their growth, they can grow more than one rank. That means this dark horse can be at least the highest rank. Plus, it's an obsidian. It's the most rare kind of the many out there, and the name refers to the type of igneous rock. Had the patriarch known this, Nox believes that he would have taken this horse. Although it's not that tempting right now because of its negative trait, in some perspectives, it's a more annoying trait than the terminally ill trait. I won't change my mind. I'll go with this horse, Nox confidently said. With his knowledge, he knows that he can save it. Theo was disappointed that Nox chose this horse. He was thinking that Nox is projecting himself onto the horse, which means that he is still emotional and weak. I hope you won't regret that decision, Theo said and walked away. The twin brothers wanted to stop their father but Theo ignored them. Nox was looking to his father leaving and he wondered if his decision was really that disappointing. Rotwell told him that he can now name his horse. He glanced at his horse and decided to name it Carl. It was the name he used when clearing inner Lunatic and it's a meaningful name to him. Nox goes home together with his horse and he even let his horse lie down on his bed. First, he cannot show others what he's about to do so he brought his horse to his room. His horse eyes looked determined to live, like him struggling to leave. He was guessing that his horse also struggling to leave a bit longer. Rona, I know you're out there. If you don't answer right now, Nox suddenly said but he was cut off when Rona comes out and suddenly fell on the floor. She was confused about why Nox knew that she was around. Nox pointed to the horse and Rona was shocked to see that there was a horse in the bed. She then predicted that she will be the one that needs to clean the horse. Nox then informed her that his horse was sick so she should do her best. Even though Rona was frightened, she still accepts what Nox ordered her to do. Nox smiled while thinking about what will happen next is gonna be quite a shock. He also wondered if Rona is able to deal with it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoy. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Till next time.